So hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with,
This is Rory from Dayseeker.
and we're asking some questions today about the upcoming album Dark Sun. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
It's been good, man. It's always a little scary putting new music out into the public and just hoping that people don't hate it. But it seems to have gone pretty well so far. I think like when we were getting ready to put out like Neon Grave, I was like kind of worried because we hadn't put out music in like 3 years, and I feel like your first single kind of sets the tone for like how the rest of it's gonna go. So we got a we got a lot of love on Neon Grave, and it seems like it's been a really good response to every single so far. So I'm pretty happy at the moment.
Hell yeah, I know people were
Yeah.
patiently awaiting your return, so I expected that all the singles would go really well.
hmm
Man, you would hope so, but I don't know, I feel like sometimes people in our scene can just be vicious if you put out music that they don't like. So it's always a little scary.
Well,
But
yeah, if the tastemaker said this was bad, then it probably wouldn't have like 3 million streams right now.
yes, that I guess that's a good point. Yeah.
So, is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Absolutely. So we wrote Neon Grave was like the very first song that we wrote for the album, and then I before we wrote that song, I was kind of like, oh, this will be the song about my dad, and I thought I'd be able to kind of squeeze everything like into that one song, and then we finished writing it, and I kind of realized that there was a lot more to touch on about his passing. So we ended up writing five different songs about my dad's passing on the album. And so I think just because like such a big chunk of the album was about him and that experience, it seemed it, like the title track should be one of the songs. And so Dark Sun was a song that I wrote kind of metaphorically in this like apocalyptic sense. It's just about feeling like when he died, like the sun burned out basically, and then trying to live in this world where like it's not really like there's no natural light coming in. It's just a very like dark time. And so I think I just feel like that kind of encapsulated that whole experience a little bit better. And it just was like a nice simple title. And then it was funny too, because even before we got like the album art back, I kind of saw like a sort of like eclipsey kind of vibe for like the front cover. And then what's cool is like was that the guy, his name's Ryan Sanders, he made the artwork for the album. He had kind of like he had taken that direction really well. And then for the I feel like the we haven't posted the back of the cover yet, but it's like the front cover is obviously like very dark, with like that kind of blacked out sun. And then
Mm.
the back cover is more like kind of like pink clouds, and like it just looks a little bit more happier, I guess to say. So it was interesting because I feel like we kind of set the concept up as like the front cover is like the dark sun world that like I find myself living in like after his passing, but that uh the back cover could be like heaven basically, or like
Mhm.
a place that my dad is now where he's okay. So yeah, I'm happy with how all the artwork came together overall.
That's sick, and
For
I'm
sure.
sorry for your loss, by the way.
Oh,
Yes.
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for this album?
Oh man, it was just a year off and on of just writing and second guessing and a lot of changing the songs. Like it's funny because Dark Sun ended up coming out as this like it kind of reminds me of like maybe like a 80s kind of Paris song in the verses, and then it somehow turned into like this EDM structure where it like builds to the chorus, and then the chorus is like a keyboard instrumental. I don't know. It's just very like I feel like that song went through. That was like a good example of how like you can start writing something and you can have an idea in your head like what it should be, and then like by the time the album's done, it's just like night and day. Like we Dark Sun was kind of like a we had like Neon Grave and Dream State, which are like the two like heavier tracks on the album. And I think
Mhm.
like we initially started writing Dark Sun as like, oh, okay, this will be another like metal or kind of harder rock track in the album. So it's funny because there's like an earlier version of that song that has like it opens with like a wage war sounding like riff, and then there's like a breakdown and yeah, it's just, but it was funny because we ended up writing all the vocals for it. And then we were like listening to the song with all these like metal elements in it, and like me and the producer were just like, this is like making the song worse, isn't it? Like it's not cool. It feels like really, I feel like we're always kind of, I don't know if we're going to do it a lot in the future, but I feel like we always feel like we had to pay like homage to like our older listeners by including these like heavy rock parts. But I feel like we just don't, like we don't listen to a lot of that stuff like now in our older age. So I feel like when we try and do it now, sometimes like it has to be something we're excited about, or it comes off sounding like forced or kind of inauthentic. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just a lot of that. I mean, it's, you have songs like that on the album, but then there's songs like Without Me. Like we wrote like pretty much like 90% of How It Is we wrote in like a couple of hours in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just crazy because you just get lucky like that with some songs that just they come like super easily. But we're also lucky too because it's like on a lot of our past records, it's like we would just go to like some different state for like 3 or 4 weeks and just kind of lock ourselves up and work on an album like 24/7. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is like one way to do a record, but it becomes really easy to get like burnt out, I feel like, doing that. So we're lucky that our producer lives locally. So like I said, it was a year, but we were just going to the studio like a couple of times a week, like like when we weren't touring or had other plans going on. And I think that way it was kind of nice because you'd write a song and then maybe like in a few months you'd be like, I don't know if that's like a good song actually, and then we would change it or rewrite it. But I feel like we got a good solid 11 songs out of this that I feel really good about. But it was a yeah, it was a process, man. It was especially, I mean, a vocal tracking is just like a nightmare kind of, but
Yeah.
we did it, you know.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you said like you guys had Dark Sun, it was going to be like this kind of wage war-esque track, and you didn't force it, and it definitely, like, none of the songs on here feel forced, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I hope not. Yeah, it was a lot of, yeah, very much leaning into like the pop structure style of writing, 'cause I think that's like more what we listen to outside of like this genre, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like something that excites us in this music scene.
Sure.
Exactly. And if your older fans want that sound again, they could just go listen to your older stuff. Like,
I know, that's what I always say. I'm like, it didn't go anywhere. Like it's still
exactly.
still on Spotify. I think it's just because people want to hear like newer, evolved versions of like our earlier albums. But I
Mm-hmm.
just like, it's just, you just can't expect like, the funny thing is that if we kept doing that, because I think we were trying to do that up until the record before Sleep Talk. It was called Dreaming is Sinking, and we were like, I think even on that record we were trying to lean into like metal and like metalcore roots, and I could feel like in the middle of that album like that just sometimes the writing felt like kind of uninspired. Like
Yeah.
I'm proud of it, but there are definitely like some songs on that record where I'm like, that was like, I feel like we were reaching a little bit there, or I just wasn't like really passionate about writing just like screaming over like breakdowns anymore. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and it's funny too because it was like as soon as we tried something different that like wasn't metal and we did Sleep Talk, it was just an entirely like different game changer for like our success as a band and like people caring about our band. And then you have like these 5 people in a corner who are just like, I miss the breakdowns. And it's like, sorry, I don't know. Like, yeah, like you want to make everybody happy, but
Yeah.
it's just not really possible at the end of the day.
But it's clear that the
Exactly.
general public wanted something else, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it's fine,
Yeah.
man. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
I think if you've like listened to our band for a long time and you've like enjoyed what we had to offer, it's probably not like the parts where we're screaming or playing riffs. Like I think a lot of people gravitate more towards like the lyrical content and probably like the more melodic parts of the music. So it's
Mhm.
fine if there's a few angry metalheads, who aren't getting what they want. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Exactly. And even if you did go back to your roots, those still 5 angry metalheads would be like, wow, they haven't changed at all. They haven't evolved. They would still be mad at you. So there's really like no winning.
It's fine. Yeah, I think at some point we just realized like we should just write the music that we want to write and just hope that people like it. And we just got lucky that they have, at least so far. Yeah.
Yeah, it does rock. Very good album.
Thanks.
So what song off this album took the longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Thank you.
It's funny. They actually, that's tough. I can tell you the one that took the longest to write was it's called Afterglow. It's the ending song on the album, and I wrote it about my daughter, and it was like because we wrote Neon Grave as the first, and then I written like the on guitar like the chords for the chorus for Afterglow like a while ago, and I had shown it to our producer Dan like right after we finished working on Neon. So it was like the second song we started writing on the album, but then like that was another one where it was never going to be a metal song, but we had like alternate versions of like different verses and stuff, and we just couldn't really like get the song structuring to make sense. And that one, and I think too, it was like I was like, okay, I'm gonna write this about like my daughter and like well, obviously like how much I care about her, but it was just like I think she was only like 4 or 5 months old when we had started working on it. And not to say like that's not enough time to like write about your like how much you love your kid, but it was interesting because we kind of like kept trying to like force different versions and it just wasn't really panning out super well. And then we started working on a lot of other music for the album, so we kind of like put that one on like the back burner, and then it ended up being like the last song that we finished like for the album basically. And I was almost better it happened that way because we rewrote like a lot of the instrumentation, and I think it came out cooler, but then like lyrically it was nice because then like by the time I ended up writing it, it was like I had been a father for like a year and a half, and then I had gotten to like I had gone out on like a few tours with Dayseeker, and I feel like it like just made the experience different because then I was writing about kind of how like what it's like to be away from her and just experience like that like I have to go out because I have to like make money to like provide for her, but then in the process I'm also missing like these like little milestones that are happening in her life, or I come home and it feels like she has like grown up like a lot in a really short period of time. So that was like that definitely took like the longest to write because we started working on it like at the beginning of the album when we started recording, but then like didn't finish it until like right before we turned the album in. But I'm happy it kind of worked out that way. And then man, I don't know, I think Crying While You're Dancing is probably up there because I don't know, it's funny because your label encourages you to like write songs kind of like Neon Grave or like Without Me, where it's like you finish it and it's kind of like, oh, this is like an undeniable like single for the record. Like it's structured in the way that it's like catchy and it'll do well like commercially, but like Crying While You're Dancing was kind of like I don't know, it was sort of like a dark horse. Like I feel like it's structured really interestingly, and the chorus is not like a radio chorus where it's like really catchy and repetitive, but there's like something about it that I just remember like when we finished like a working demo for the song, I listened to it like 10 times in a row and I was like, this is like I think this is a really cool song. And then but it's funny because sometimes you get ideas for like what songs you think should be like a single. And I remember with that one, I was like, I'm gonna advocate for that one, and I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of like disagreement from our label and our management. And everybody was like, no, this is definitely a single. And so it's like it's cool. And it's funny because I did another interview where a guy he's like, I think that song is gonna be like a dark horse track on the album. And I was like, well, I think it's our next single. So I hope I hope that's not the case. But it was the same thing where it was like a favorite for him. But he too kind of recognized that it's not like by definition like a radio or like a rock single like the way it's structured. But yeah, that one yeah, that one comes out in a week. So we'll see if people like that one. But that's a favorite of mine for sure.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
So how'd the track list for your album come about? Did you guys write the opener be the opener, closer be a closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
Yeah, that gets hard. It's basically like it's just basically like arranging like a puzzle kind of at the end of the day. It's usually like I knew Afterglow would be a good song to end the album on, just because some songs just have that vibe or that tone, like it's really
Yeah.
final and like it's gonna end the album. So that was nice because we had that one. We didn't have like Dream State as an opener for a long time actually, and we were kind of like our producer Dan was kind of like, I think we should have like one more upbeat rock song because it was a little like on the slower side. And then we wrote Dream State, and then I was like, yeah, this is like, I think it's just a cool like straight to the point kind of rock song because we on Sleep Talk we did like a more artsy intro track with this song called Drunk, and it's like the it's like this song doesn't really kick in until like a minute and a half in on that song, and we were kind of just like, I think we should just start this album like a little more like spoon fed for the listener. And then
Yeah.
it was just a lot of like, I feel like it's kind of simple where it's like a lot of your singles are usually upbeat and catchy, so they're good to kind of front load on the beginning of an album because you don't want to like bore your listener a couple tracks in, and then like, you know, three-fourths of the way through you're kind of just picking like this is probably where like the ballad should go or this
Yeah.
song here. But I mean it got kind of easier because like there's like two interlude tracks on the album called Midnight Eternal and then Parallel, and those are kind of like meant to go into their respective tracks following them. So Midnight Eternal goes into Dark Sun, and then Parallel goes into Afterglow. So that was kind of easy too because it was like those two like have to be back to back basically at
Yeah.
the end of the day. So it's a process though for sure getting everything ready.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So you went into this a little bit already in the beginning, but if you want, you could go a bit more in depth. Would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you were creating this record?
Um just depressed. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of it was just about just my dad because like I said it was hard to like, I think like with Neon I was just like it was so easy in the past to just like be like, oh, this will be like our eating disorder song and this will be like the cancer song, and then it was just kind of like just I don't know, there's a lot of stages I think that come with like the process of like seeing somebody die and then also just like the months that kind of follow afterwards. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean a lot of it, yeah, was about my dad, but then there was also just like, I don't know, there was, yeah, obviously songs about heartbreak. So I just keep writing about the same girl over and over again, so that's nice.
Good.
And then a lot of it was but I mean I think a cooler thing for the record too is that there were like kind of honest attempts at writing songs that are, I wouldn't like, it's not like happy, like it doesn't sound like, I don't know, like, you know, like a super poppy happy song, but like for us like a happier tone or more uplifting. Like Afterglow is obviously like about like an overwhelming love that I have for my daughter and my experience being on the road, so it's not like super sad in that sense. And then Homesick was like the other track on the album that is like was meant to be like kind of on the happier side because it's more about like I mean like because there's songs where it's just like, oh, like I'm so sad and like life is sad, it's kind of like a bummer the whole way through, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Homesick was like kind of about my dad dying, but it was more like it was me being in the middle of that really dark period and then kind of recognizing like, because I think like after like my dad passed I kind of just wanted to like wallow in like my own misery sort of because
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like I wanted to like put myself in situations where people were going to be like laughing or happy because I just didn't want that at that time. And then
Yeah.
yeah, I spent time with somebody like I think like 5 or 6 days after he had passed, and then just like got dinner and drinks, and it was like very dark in the beginning, and then as the night went on it like progressed into being like more lighthearted, and then I found myself like smiling or laughing here and there, and then it just made me feel like I didn't have to feel like guilty about being happy in the middle of a really horrible time in my life. So I think Homesick is about like people, places, or things that just make you feel like it's like you might be in the middle of like the worst time in your life, but like you can still breathe like while you're going through like really horrible things, and like you owe it like to these people and these experiences that are kind of lifting you out of a dark space in your life. So yeah.
For sure. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, in the dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
Man. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I feel like it's a good nighttime driving album. But I don't know how many friends you're gonna have who are down to just listen to like a really depressing album for like.
I thought you were gonna say I don't know how many friends you're gonna have if you're a Dayseeker fan.
Yeah, in a car with friends if you can. But I mean, in a room alone is cool too. I mean, like with headphones. I mean, yeah, that's an ideal way to listen to it too. Yeah.
Sure. And
were you gonna ask the same question?
No, I was gonna go back one.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. So I just want to go back to the headspace question for 1 second and just say that I appreciate that like you wrote this very like personal record. You're talking about a lot of personal shit that happened, and you're still willing to like go and talk about it with people and like you know, be very open about like what happened and what you were feeling during that time. I feel like when an artist writes a super personal record, they either don't do interviews about it or they put up this facade that like everything was okay during that time, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, well, thanks, man. I don't know. I think like emotional vulnerability is like a big part of like why people like our music. And I know like for me, it was like that was a big help like when I was younger and going through things in like high school, and I didn't really have anywhere else to turn like except music. So I had like a boom box, you know, in my room when I was like 15, and I would just listen to like Linkin Park or like Stained and stuff, you know, just like really sad sounding kind of like angsty music. And I think like I don't know, I think you know what it was too is that I like I don't know if you guys know, there was this band called Let Live. They used to be a thing. They're not. They're like Fever 333 now. But yeah, I saw them play a live show one time, and they had this song called Mother, and he had basically they just had like a really vibey instrumental going on. He talked for like 5 or 10 minutes about like his mom and his experience with it and stuff. And I don't know why. Then when like they played the song afterwards, it just hit me a lot harder. I was always like, that was like a cool vibe for him to be like so candid about like really personal shit, and then it made me appreciate the song more. So I think like we definitely like took a page out of that book. Like we usually do something like that live with our songs, but I mean it's also like I think too it's like, and you guys have probably seen this with like your friends or other people, it's just like specifically like a lot of my guy friends, I feel like there's like that stigma of like you can't talk about your feelings, or like it's not okay, or it's uncomfortable. And I find myself usually like I think because like I'm so open in our songwriting, like I don't feel very uncomfortable talking about like any topic that really comes up. And then I think as a result it's also like I want to like try and help. Like I have like other guy friends who like I know they're going through something and they're not talking about it, and I try and pull it out of them. I'm like, you gotta, like, you're gonna explode one day if you don't like get your stuff out. So like I'm a big mental health kind of advocate, and I feel like I'd probably be like a hypocrite if I, you know, was writing this kind of stuff and then didn't want to talk about like what it means, you know. And hopefully like it just helps somebody like understand our music a little bit better at the end of the day. So
hell yeah,
for sure. So this one should be super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, no more, no less.
Sad 80s pop.
That's perfect. Good. All right. So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I guess just like I mean, hopefully just a feeling of like catharsis. Because I mean, for me, it's this really nice experience. Because for me, it's like I think what's songwriting is like very challenging at times, but it's also like very therapeutic for like helping me cope with things. I think it's like why I had to write about my dad, because it just helped me kind of like process it and like try and like understand my own emotions a little bit more. But then it's nice because then like I do that for myself, and then it comes out, and then like maybe there's somebody else who also lost their parent, or you know, is dealing with heartbreak, or like any, you know, any litany of like topics we've written about over the years. So I mean, it was kind of what I talked about before. Like when I was a kid, I would just turn to music because it really helped me. That's like kind of that's like a big part of like why we play music. And I think like what our hope is like all the time, you know, is just like that people listen and it can help them if they're going through something tough. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully they just listen to it and they feel just comfort knowing that they're not alone if they're going through like a similar experience that we did.
Oh yeah.
Love that. So what is your favorite memory that you made while creating this record?
Um, man, like it was pretty tough.
Yeah.
Well, it's just when you do vocal tracking, it's just, oh my God, it's just brutal. At least like our particular, I've definitely worked with producers where like you just track a line like one or two times and they're like, yeah, it's good. And then you just kind of keep moving. But like
Yeah.
our producer just grinds me down. I mean, because like
It's got to be perfect. He doesn't want to edit it all in post. It's got to be perfect coming out of your mouth.
No, he does, but man, he just really like. We do every line on the album. Probably if I can do it well, like naturally, like probably at least 5 or 6 times. And then there were parts on the album where like like some of like the more like R&B stuff, like there's like little like vocal runs and like without me and like the second verse and stuff, and they're like, I don't know why, sometimes it's like easier shit to do in my car, and then as soon as I put headphones on and you're like hearing yourself back, it like messes with
Yeah.
like your head. So I don't know, it's just some stuff like that, like when we had to be like really critical of making sure like the notes lined up correctly and it was like in time, like you would do like 20 times. So it's like every time we would go to, it was like vocal boot camp, like whenever you go to record a song, because it takes a good like 3 to 4 hours to record a song all the way through, like per song. And there's like 11 songs, so we probably spent like a good like 30 to 40 hours alone just recording vocals for the album. I'm like trying to tell you about like a good memory I have. No, it's but I mean, like it's the ends justify the means. It's like we get like amazing takes for every song. But I think a cool, I mean, it was a little stressful at the time, but looking back, it's a cool memory. It's like my daughter was at the studio like a lot of the time while we were making the album, but she was a little more like low maintenance at the time. Like I'm lucky that like the schedule kind of lined up the way it did at the age that she was at, because there were just some days where like it was my time with her, but I had to go work on the album. So our producer Dan is like he's great with her, and then she would just like, I have a little like, it's just this thing called like a pack and play. It's basically like a small baby prison. So we just throw her in there with like toys and stuff, and then he has like a TV in his room. So if you put like, at that time, if you put almost anything on that was made by Pixar, she would just lock in on it and would just watch it for like hours and stuff. But then I was also like, okay, like I gotta give her a bottle like right when we get to the studio, and then I can work on it for a little bit. Then I have to give her lunch. Then she goes down for a nap. So it was like at the time, it was a lot of like every like hour or 2 hours had to do like something. So we'd have to like pause tracking. But then it was like, I think it was just like a cool experience that she was there like more than anybody else outside of like me and our producer Dan. Like, so that's like a nice memory to have. It was pretty stressful at the time trying to balance like the schedule of like when we get to work versus like taking care of her. But I think like it's just a cool memory. And then hopefully she'll be more chilled out, because now we couldn't do that because she's too rambunctious and understands like she can test boundaries and like
she's crawling out of that prison now.
Oh yeah, no, she would sprint out. She's just she's a chaotic little kid now. But yeah, it was nice to have her there for like a big chunk of the recording process.
Hell yeah. So picture this: you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
Oh man, Doritos, I think. Yeah, probably. Yeah, if I need a shitty snack, or you know what's good? I was really caught off guard is they have a Reese's Big Cut, but they have potato chips inside of them, and they're super good. I kind of tried it as like a goof, and then I was like, this is like the best version of Reese's I've ever had, because it's
really
like, yeah, I think like I'm into like salty sweet, that like salted caramel I'm like super into. So I think you get like that like salty taste from like a potato chip, but then like you have like the chocolate and the peanut butter. I don't know. There's something about it. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I've wanted to try it, but I'm so worried that I'm gonna bite into it and the potato chip's gonna be like soggy. So I've been scared of it.
It smacks, I promise. If you try one, you won't regret it.
Okay, I'll have to grab some then.
Yeah,
I'm trusting you. All right.
Yeah.
If it's bad, I will message you about it.
That's fine. You can give me a hard time if it's bad.
So on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Dish with the band be? Probably a pizza. I don't know. A lot of different ingredients going on in this band here. I don't know, pizza, because it's easy. It's also like my favorite. It's probably my favorite food. But I mean, you can't eat pizza all the time because you'll die. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like all the guys may enjoy a good pizza too. We like Indian food is really good too. Like a good like a good like chicken tikka masala. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like a nice change of pace, because sometimes you'll go to like a venue, and usually like what we'll do is just like see what's walking distance in the area, and sometimes it's just like horrible fast food or like a very crappy dive bar. So you gotta take what you can get, I guess, when you have it.
Absolutely. Sure. So for the last couple questions, we're going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with drink?
Wow. Man, there's this restaurant called Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas that Gordon Ramsay owns, and I've been there a couple of times, and it is like, I thought it would be kind of overhyped, and it's not. It's definitely some of the best food I've had in my entire life. They have a dish called a beef Wellington, and it's basically like, yeah, if you watch his shows, it's just like a cut of like filet beef and like a pastry around it, and then it's baked with like, I think there's like a mushroom thing going on and like prosciutto wrapped around it, and they put like a red wine demi-glaze over it, and it is just, it's fantastic. It's really good. So I would do that. And then they actually have it's funny, they have really good cocktails there. So I would do that, and then I would probably, I mean, if I was about to die, I would just like want to just be hammered, I think. So something very strong with a lot of alcohol in it. A Long Island or an Adios MFer, if they have those where you guys are from. I don't know.
I've never heard of it, but I'm
You've
sure
never heard of it? Is it okay? Can you curse on this podcast?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's called an Adios Motherfucker. You guys have never heard of an Adios Motherfucker?
Well, we're both not of drinking age, so.
True,
okay. Sorry.
That might be part of it.
That might be it.
Okay, you might hear about it more. So it's like, well, have you guys heard of like a Long Island iced tea? It's kind of in that realm. Like adios is like, it's an adios because it's like I'll see you tomorrow after I drink this, because you just get very, I don't know, it's like watching them make it. It's kind of horrifying, because like usually in a cocktail it's like, you know, it's like maybe like this much alcohol, and then the rest is like juice or other stuff. It's like you watch them make it, and I think it's like 4 or 5 different alcohols, and it goes like up to here, and then there's like a little mixer at the top, but it doesn't,
a little splash.
Yeah, it doesn't taste that strong though. That's kind of the scary part about it.
That's a little concerning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, if I was gonna die though, I would, I wouldn't want to be sober. So I don't know. Yeah,
Fair enough.
I guess that would be my death row meal.
All right.
Perfect. So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
One fictional world. Probably either in a world where superheroes exist or like Hogwarts, like Harry Potter, because I was
Oh yeah,
a big fan of that growing up. So it'd be cool to cast some spells and stuff.
for sure. What house are you?
I don't know. I think I did like a test one time and I came back Slytherin, so I was like, oh shit. But
That's good. Yeah.
is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta
I
hang out
mean,
with like Malfoy and stuff, you know. They just
that isn't bad. I mean, Slytherins are like, what is it? They're just like motivated, right? So that's
I
good.
guess so, yeah. Something about Ravenclaw sounds nice too, but I
Smarts.
feel like I don't know. I don't know if there were any major characters that were in Ravenclaw in the books that I
Yeah,
can
none
remember.
in Hufflepuff either.
Yeah, just very forgetful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Really.
So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person that you've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
Either blue or black, I would say, but probably a nice sky blue, I think is my favorite color.
That's good.
Very good pick.
So as I said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, just that we have a new song out called Crying While You're Dancing on October 27th, and then we have our new album available on November 4th called Dark Sun. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thank you for now. That's been Rory from Dayseeker, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.